words on ECSA. We represent 20 national shipowners associations in the EU and the EEA, so we have also Norway as one of our members. We have a small secretariat of 10 people based in Brussels. We are founded actually in 1965, so we've been there for a while, but the configuration has changed a little bit, as also, of course, the EU evolved over the years. Our main remit is to promote and protect the interests of European shipowners towards European policymakers, and especially in the last decade, and really much speeding up in the last 2-3 years, we've had a lot of work to do. For the purpose of today, and in the topic of sustainable shipping, I just wanted to put on the slide here what we have to deal with at European level. So this is the Green Deal objective. 90% greenhouse gas reduction target across all transport modes by 2050. Obviously, this is a broader target. It is recognized in the EU Sustainable and Smart Mobility Strategy that was published in 2021. That, of course, shipping and waterborne transport is one of the most difficult sectors to decarbonize. And what do we need for this to happen, according to the European regulators, is, of course, access to renewable and low-carbon fuels, zero-emission propulsion technologies, need to decarbonization measures, including carbon prices. This is where we have now, still not published in law, but coming soon, the inclusion of shipping in the EU emission trading scheme. And then, of course, the need for adequate refueling infrastructure. What do we need from our side, from ECSA side? What do we need to achieve shipping decarbonization goals at EU level? Once again, availability of affordable and low-carbon fuels for shipping. This has been our main point throughout all the regulatory activities that we've conducted over the past few years under the umbrella of the Fit for 55 European legislative package. We need investment, and we need refueling infrastructure. All of this comes down for us to adequate access to finance. And here we come to one of the topics I've selected for today. There could be many. Just to give you a flavor, the Fit for 55 package for us has 5 or 6 legislation that can really have an impact on shipping. One is the inclusion of shipping in the EU ETS, the Fuel EU regulation that deals with the fuel side of things. I won't go too much into detail on that one today because I know there's another speaker as well coming up later on, which has a full presentation on it. We have, of course, the Renewable Energy Directive, which deals with the production of fuel on a broader scale, not just for transport, not just for shipping. The Alternative Fuel Infrastructure Regulation that deals with the development of transport infrastructure, including bunkering infrastructure. And then we have a few others which come into play, including the Energy Taxation Directive. But for the purpose of this regulation, because we are talking sustainable shipping, and for us, what is needed at European level on sustainable shipping, first of all, is certainty. That will be the answer, my answer to the first question. Certainty on what we are looking at, certainty on what are the targets, and certainty on what we can have in terms of the standards that we have to, as an industry, we have to meet. And then, of course, in order to meet these challenges, what we need is the money to get there, obviously. And this is where our main point throughout the discussion we've been having in the EU ETS ultimately comes to. Here on the slide is just a representation of what has been achieved. Obviously, the directive is not published yet, but it should be in the next couple of weeks to enter into force at the end of the year. Just as a couple of information, of course, under this directive, shipping will pay for its carbon emission. It's a gradual phase-in approach starting in 2024, measuring emissions in 2024, starting to pay as of 2025, and then we gradually go up to 100% over the course of a couple of years. The responsibility is split. Of course, the responsibility for surrendering ETS allowance is always with the shipping company, but if there's an agreement with a commercial operator when this is different from the shipping company and is responsible for the purchase of the fuel and the operation of the ship, then there are mandatory requirements in the directive to pass on the cost to the commercial operator. So this is just to set the scene. But to move on to what is my main point. One of the results of the discussion we've been having at EU level on the inclusion of shipping in the EU ETS, and this was one of our, if not the main point of ECSA in the negotiation, is we welcomed the ambition of the package. We recognize that we have to do our part, and therefore when the ETS proposal came out, we welcomed it, but with the idea that we needed a system that could work and that could really kick off the decarbonization of the shipping industry. And what has been achieved at the end of the discussion is that shipping is the only sector in the ETS industrial environment which actually has a dedicated envelope of resources that's been earmarked from the ETS allowances from shipping, going under what is called the Innovation Fund. This is a fund at EU level, which is already existing. Shipping was not part of it. And this dedicated envelope will be based, in terms of how much resources we will have, will be based on the carbon price. With the current carbon price, we are at approximately 2 billion, which we recognize is absolutely not enough, but it is at least a start. And one good element in this, and this is something that we will need to work on now, and we're working on now with the European Commission, is the eligibility of projects. The Innovation Fund until now had a very strict European remit, so you had to be based in Europe to access it. What the Commission has recognized in the negotiation is that obviously shipping is a global industry, but it brings EU added value. So the criteria is not a geographical criteria anymore, but a criteria of the EU added value. What this means still needs to be, the criteria still needs to be fully defined. The work is actually starting today in the Innovation Fund Expert Group, of which of course we are part. But what we know is this envelope will go towards mainly three things: the improvement of energy efficiency of ships and ports, innovative technology of infrastructure, and deployment of sustainable alternative fuel and zero-emission propulsion technologies. Important here is, as well, that this is not just innovative technologies, but also transition technologies. This is one of the criteria we will insist on in the discussion, because, of course, these resources are needed to really bridge the gap between where we are now and where we need to be in 5, 10, 15 years. And one of the main points for us in the entire discussion we've been having is really also the bridging the gap between what we have now, the conventional fuels, and the new fuels that are either already on the market but are very expensive, or will come to the market, obviously, at a higher price. One point maybe just for you, the Innovation Fund envelope is not the only thing that's dedicated to shipping. It's the only thing that's specific for shipping. But it's important to note, and this is for you to go to your own governments and do some shouting, what is left in the ETS pot after the shipping envelope has been taken out and a few other things have been taken out. What's left from there? 25% of the overall ETS revenues goes to the EU budget, 75% goes to the member states, and that from now, from the new ETS directive, 100% of that revenues will have to be spent on climate-related activities. So the shipping envelope we have at European level is not the only thing that can help kickstart decarbonization in shipping. And this is a point that we make everywhere we go, because it's very important at national level that this is understood from the industry, to go and lobby your own governments for that money to be spent on shipping. I have 47 seconds left. This is just something that is very new. It's come out in Brussels as a proposal last week. Then that Zero Industry Act. This is a response of the EU to the US Inflation Reduction Act. And what it wants to do is to boost manufacturing technology of strategic net zero technologies in Europe. Shipping and transport is not in there, but what this can do is to help develop the capacity for marine fuels and technologies in Europe for the decarbonization of shipping. We need a couple of steps before that happens. For example, you see on the left-hand side, these are the strategic net zero technologies already included: offshore wind, batteries technologies, also hydrogen when it comes to the production at higher level, but it doesn't trickle down to the actual marine fuel production. So here, I think we have at European level a very good opportunity to make sure that all of this work, all of the resources that will go into this work is eventually also translated to dedicated manufacturing capacity for marine fuels. And this is for us what's the first thing needed to really kickstart the decarbonization. And I am done.
Thank you very much.